What do you call your friend who made his very first character a dark elf? Dumb and Dunmer. What's going on, YouTube? It is Tuesday. We have ourselves a brand new refresh of add-ons too. We got so much cool stuff, but today we're going to be focused on all of the weekly vendor refreshes because you never know, you might get something super cool. So we start off inside of Apocrypha, which is outside the plane of existence. If you've never been here before, then you just talk to Filer Ul, and he has a rotational store of items, starting with the Daedric Enchanting Apparatus, which admittedly can be a little bit annoying. You have to go to the Blackwood public dungeon, the Atoll of Immolation. Immolation? I don't know. Somebody's already commented it below. Kill the final boss, loot the chest there. You got a chance to get this apparatus. Probably not worth 5,000 archival fortunes. I actually own this entire kit and caboodle here. You can see that it only requires 3 total leads in general, and it actually does look pretty cool. So do you get it? Do you not get it? I would farm it personally. Next up is the Old Growth Mulch. Now you might notice something weird where it says I have this antiquity, but I don't have this one, so I could buy this again. Why is that? Well, if you're ever confused and you says you have an earth antiquity, it means you've not completed the full antiquity, so you have parts of it done. So for example, this bed, Mama Jamma here, requires quite a few leads to be picked up. But this one actually comes from Galen Rewards coffers. Now, over time, these are going to get more difficult because less people are farming Galen and Euphelion. So maybe you'll want to try to do this sooner rather than later because you do get access to a collectible skin. People really do like collectible skins. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, if you want it to look like this, what better way to do that than through this specific lead? And this, this mythical lead, so overall, it's fine, but generally, there's just so many skins in the game that look better, in my opinion. Even if you wanted to look like the thing, got accidentally lost in the Amazon River and turned green for some reason, I just think there's better options. Next up is Vykuza. Now, to quickly address something, we're also modeling it here if you want to look at how it looks on your face. A lot of people are like, Jake, why do you always price check things on PC? It's because if I'm price checking on PC, that's where we have actual data. It doesn't help me to tell you that we don't know. Like, Jake, how much is this worth? Unknown. You'd be like, well, why did I click on this video? So at least on PC, we know that people are listing these for about 2.8 to 3.4 million gold. We have an actual range for how much gold you could be potentially saving because this is character bind on pickup, meaning that you do have to use it on the character. You can't sell it. But that being said, it's a pretty good mask because it's a really annoying farm. I believe Vykuza comes from, it's Moonhunter Keep. I did do a quick Google search, but in my mind, that's what I was thinking because I remember farming that with my friends and it being one of the more annoying dungeons we ever did, but that's what it is. You also can see now too, we have a market price here due to our add-ons. We now know that these are selling for about 12K each, these for about 34K each, and these for about 39K each. I will just point out though that you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Jake, I'm about to make it rich. Well, you have to remember, you're paying all of these ingredients after you've purchased this for 2,000 archival fortunes. And if you wanted to try to resell these, this is going to be a bit of a, difficult thing because I don't know what the market is for gigantic oval floors. I'm not an interior designer. You guys should see how I designed my house. It's just stuff just lazily in places. Like, oh, we could put a cabinet over here and people will be like, why is the cabinet over there? But this is also, I believe, the actual market price of the Praxis. Now, that's not to say that the actual sold items won't be decent as well, because 39K is still pretty decent value for an old Praxis like this. So you probably could sell these, but I just don't want to get people's hopes up that, oh, this is the bee's knees. The bees, they're not pollinating on these bad boys. But Hughesbane treasure maps, it's not as bad as you think. So a lot of people will initially think Hughesbane is buns, but I want to point out that there are actually some really good sets that drop from there, Savara's Scales notably, which can come in light, medium, or heavy, and I believe you can only get the actual other pieces of the other 2 equipments, that being light, medium, or heavy, because I think only like medium drops in the overworld, so if you wanted light and heavy, you have to do either heists or treasure maps. So They're not bad. I mean, they're not worth it, but they're better than you would have thought if I didn't tell you that. Companion equipment jewelry, also market price unknown, because you don't know what you're going to get. Now, jewelry is one of the best things to gamble on, because if you're like, Jake, I need a DPS companion, a healing companion, and a tanking companion, they're all going to need to wear rings and necklaces. So slap on those bad man pajamas, and you can at least kind of fill them out that way. Now, unfortunately, because this is a thing that rotates into, jewelry isn't as expensive as some of the armor and weapons, but you do need to use them on all your different companion types. So you have a higher chance to get a trait in a usable piece. Versus, let's say you're rolling for weapons, you get a healing trait on a sword. You're like, well, that's worthless. So at least if you get a healing trait on a ring or a necklace, you could use it. Next up, we have our 2 readable books. These guys look very straightforward. We also have Brittle, Empower, Taunt, and Fencer's Parry. These are all purchasable with Archival Fortunes. These will be more expensive if you don't have them unlocked already. And I will tell you, you probably aren't going to buy any of these. Brittle and Taunt are really good ones to have to be able to put them on different skills. I always think of future proofing. Problem is, do daily quests. Daily quests right now are cracked. Do the daily quests in the newest zone, and you'll be so happy. Or even the Westworld zone. A lot of the stuff there is super valuable if you have ESO Plus, or you're just, wanting to do daily quests. You could go there. Or if you don't have any, DLCs, you could do your Fighter's Guild, Mage's Guild dailies. Daunted dailies, that stuff gives good rewards. PvP dailies gives good rewards. So generally, I would be shocked recommending these until they add new scripts. Then we have our erroneous archival map. This drops from the Infinite Archive. If you guys ever want pictures of these, just let me know. Fragment of the Scrivener. I'll give you guys a clue as to where this drops from. And if you guessed Scrivener's Hall, you would have been correct. Now, Scrivener's Hall is certainly relatively straightforward to do on normal difficulty. Relatively easy to run through. It's a guaranteed drop. I would say you're not going to purchase this, but if you're a collector, of cool things, you probably are going to want to go out and do this. And the Sigil Globe Lobes, it's so funny because I always joke that these things are always worth like 7,000 gold. Now you can see it. Don't buy these things. 3,000 Archival Fortunes for 7,000 gold might be one of the worst return rates I've ever seen in ESO for a premium currency. Don't do it. Now, next up, we're inside the Scholarium, which is inside of Ivea. This area will become free to play, I believe, midway through July. If you've never been over here, it's right here. And if you talk to this bad Mama Jamma here inside the Scholarium, he will sell you scripts for gold, which is so much better as a market value versus buying them with Archival Fortunes or Telvar. You have Cowardice, Mitigation, Restore Resources, Class Mastery. Class Mastery is static, and growing impact. Now, to me, the ones that stand out here, probably Mitigation and Restore Resources. There are certain situations where you might want to build into those, but I'll be honest, if you have a decent chunk of resources, I generally buy these because here's the thing, right? If you get a duplicate, you just resell it for 1,000 gold, and then you're never in a situation where you're like, ooh, this really cool build that I'm looking at requires me to have Mitigation, It's more so a PvP thing. If you're a PvPer, I would generally more so recommend this. If you're a solo player, especially if you do daily quests, this advice is not as good. Same if you're a PvE kind of dungeon or trial runner, you don't need to worry about this as much. But there's just so many niche PvP things that come up in builds and sets and skills where you're just like, oh, I need to restore resources now as a scribing skill. And thank you guys for being here as we come to our Imperial Ciy vendor. Again, if you need any more resources or ideas or suggestions on where to go to find these bad boys, ESOhelper.com. It's in the description below. It's our made website. And if you go talk to this Telvar vendor, they have another rotational assortment of items. We start with Bondars. I do just want to note that there was a change. These are now bind on pickup. So you cannot resell these if you wanted to with your Telvar. And this one gives you armor, max health, reduce the duration of breakable crowd control and immobilizations and snares on you by 75%, and reduce the duration of your breakable crowd control, immobilizations, and snares by 38%. This set is pretty good. You might think to yourself, Jake, why is crowd control such an important thing? Well, it can be really dominating when it comes to killing people, running down their resources, forcing them to where they're crowd controlled. And it can be very easy to get kills that way. So this is a set that sees a lot of utilization in different meta. It's a very good support set for you if you're interested in PvP. However, if you scroll up to the top here, you can see that the average, now this is not the golden version, but its market price is only 5.9k gold. It's a PvP set. People have this set everywhere. not something you need to purchase, but it is one that you could definitely use. Although you can see my crafty Elfique amulet over here. Its market value is apparently really crazy right now. So this one, not something you need to purchase, but it's one that you may want to use if you're getting interested into PvP and you want to be able to kind of feel like you're not getting stunned all the time and snared. Next up is a very similar set, and it's Netch's Oil. It gives you stam health, stam, which is decent, but generally you don't need max stam on a PvP stamina character as much as you might on like a Magicka character. And then the 5-piece, while you have crowd control immunity, you're immune to snares and immobilizations, but that also requires you to have crowd control immunity. So you're probably still going to have to take it quite a little bit. Now, it's also reflected here too. You can see this is market value, 2.5k gold. It's going to be a good way to tell you, is this actually a really good set or not based on what its value is on the market. This one doesn't have that much value. It's not as good. I would say this is like a 9 out of 10. This is like a 7 out of 10. It definitely can be used in some good builds, but it just doesn't see that utilization. There's actually some other things to go over in this video about crowd control immunity, so we'll talk about that here soon. Because we have Snow Treaders. This is the week of hating immobilizations, but this one is kind of funny. So this lead's relatively straightforward. It drops from Bleak Rock Isle. You just kill random stuff there. But Snow Treaders is literally in the same vein of what we have been talking about. While you're in combat, you're immune to snares and immobilizations that can be cleansed, but you can't sprint. So if you're in combat, you're immune to snares and immobilizations. This actually does see some utilization because it is a 1-piece, so it's less commanding than having to waste a full 5-piece set to get something similar like with Netch's Oil. And Netch's Oil, obviously, we talked about, requires you to have crowd control immunity. So it's better, obviously, because you're just using less set pieces. And if you're wondering, like, what is crowd control immunity? So after you've like broken free from a stun, that's when you have crowd control immunity. Also, certain things will give you crowd control immunity, like potions, skills, the things that give you unstoppable or immovable, that will also give you that immunity as well. So it is possible to build it a couple different ways. Like you could synergize this with potion drinking, but generally it's good. But if it's good from like this perspective of like, I'm going to run Bandar's Blessing, or maybe Snow Treader's Boots, it's a pretty good mythic, but it's very niche, but you do see it on some tanky beefcake builds. Next up, we have Belisar's Band. Now, Crimson Diamond is a little bit annoying because you do have to farm Falkreath Hold, and Falkreath Hold, not nearly as farmed as it was, but, you know, Pillar of Nirn's not as good as it was these days. And Belisar's Band is not really one that you need to, like, really go after, because if you're going to run a light or heavy attack build mythic, there's like 10 of them that are probably better than this one. In the comments, well, that's not even me being facetious. I could probably name 10 mythics that would be better, but it increases the damage of your light and heavy attacks, or excuse me, your light attacks by 900. And then when you deal damage with consecutive melee light attacks, you gain a stack of Belisar's Band up to 5, and it basically just shoots out a bull that deals the physical damage in a line and stuns them. So it's a very weird mythic, but it's not necessarily one that I think you really need to worry about. But what's this, pray tell? Archival Essay Westweld treasure maps. Don't mind if I do. And obviously people have noticed that they're available to be purchased with Telvar, but you can see even with being able to be purchased with Telvar, they're still selling for quite a bit of gold on the ESO open market. And it's because there's a lot of really cool antiquities that drop from those treasure maps. There's a lot of really good stuff that you can get from them, you know, so I think it's perfectly fine to do Westweld treasure maps if you want to convert some of your Telvar to gold, but I generally would probably say hold off unless you play on PC, because I think on Xbox they're not going to be worth as much. PC, maybe you're a little more risky, a little more gambly with your Telvar. But on Xbox, I think, and PlayStation, I'd say selling sets, just because the market's better for doing that, probably better to convert your AP to gold, or excuse me, your Telvar to gold, but your AP to gold as well. Sell sets on console, do that too. Then we have our rings, which is everything we talked about above, but then we got lifesteal, mitigation, and mobilizing strikes. Don't buy these. Same thing, it's Telvar. You probably don't have as much Telvar as you do for your other currencies. It's really annoying to farm. Do daily quests. You purchase the ones that you can get with gold, and just skip on past these bad boys. And finally, we have the Fragment of the Blind. Now, as we talked about earlier, fragments are 100% drop rate, but they do require you to do some difficult content. For example, you could purchase the Bedlam Vale one, you know, so you're like, oh, I don't have to farm Bedlam Vale, but then you're gonna have to still farm MOL, and then you're still gonna have to farm Tempest Island. Now, granted, Tempest Island is definitely the easier of those three things, but it is something to consider that if you do want to have this really cool skill style here, where it kind of makes your force shot go like, yeah, you know, it does look cool, but you're gonna have to go do all those things. I will tell you though that since I think scribing and since subclassic, I really don't see people using a lot of spammables that came from things like your Destro staff skill line. So I actually think that, you know, the value of these things is actually kind of going down a little bit, unfortunately, because people are like, well, I'm just going to get the cool spammables from the Templar, for example, where you're going to have a little cute cat who decides to sneakily walk on your lap while this video is being recorded. And it causes you to sometimes call AP Telvar like a little silly goose. So if you needed somebody to blame, you could still blame me because she's too cute to blame. But thank you guys so much again for watching. Couple good items this week. Vakuza is a really cool monster set style. Companion jewelry is also really worth considering. Also, we had some great options with destroying resources, taunting inside of the actual scribing vendor. Potential considerations there. I generally would get the ones that are worth gold, definitely, versus the other ones. We have okay leads, nothing that really jumps out at me. It says, hey, you guys need to go and get this bad mamma jamma. The blind is certainly a decent fragment, but if you play on PC especially, I think those Westworld treasure maps are definitely going to have more value than they do on console. So thank you guys so much again for watching. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to enter is leave a like and comment on this video, / as many likes and comments on the videos posted throughout the month of June. Second thing is just make sure you're subscribed. We're on the road to 32,000 subscribers. We're in the final home stretch here, so please hit the subscribe button. And the third thing is look for a hidden word to be flashed upon the screen. If you're the first person to find and comment that word, you will win. Then we're back to hiding them on the videos, trying to get more creative with hiding them, so keep an eye out. And if you do find it after you've like rushed down to the comments and commented it, if you can, put a timestamp on it. That way people who are like, I can never find these, can figure out where they were. So thank you guys one last time. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.